Hi, I'm Phil Berman from Balance Catamarans, and a lot of people ask me, like, well, why are you building these catamarans in South Africa, and what's the origin of the company? And I mean, my history in South Africa goes all the way back to 1979 when I was a young guy in college. We had the Hoby Cat World Championships here in Plettenberg Bay, and at the time, Hoby Cats were the world's most popular racing sailboat, and Hoby Cat essentially had local companies craft 72 brand new Hoby Cats for each World Championships because we traded boats in every race. The whole idea of Hoby Cat was to have this egalitarian racing experience where it wasn't about the boat, but it was about the sailor. So the interesting thing is that those Hoby Cat World Championships that were done at the end of 1979 here led to this burgeoning sailing community of catamaran enthusiasts, because after the World Championships, all of those boats were sold at a discounted rate, and it created this entire community of racing sailors up and down the South African coast. And of course, what happens is that all little Hoby Catters become big Hoby Catters or want to become big Hoby Catters. And that's why, in my opinion, Hoby Alter did more to alter the landscape of the catamaran industry than anybody else, because the bulk of those boats that are down in charter in the Caribbean, that's a result of a lot of people getting stoked about sailing and catamarans from sailing Hoby Cats in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. So the origin of this company is tied in many ways to the influence that Hoby Cats had on myself, but also on the sailing community here in South Africa. And very interestingly, the gentleman who manages all the production here of Balance Catamarans in St. Francis for the 526s is a gentleman named Jonathan Parman. And Jonathan Parman's uncle built those Hoby Cats, and Johnny was intimately involved in building those Hoby Cats. And that just shows you how long we've been involved in sort of the catamaran sailing, building, crafting industry. Later in South Africa, the very first gunboats were built in Cape Town using the very exact same technology we're using here. Foam core, epoxy, lightweight, carbon reinforced, handcrafted catamarans made for really high speed. And many of the people that learn how to build boats in those gunboat factories are working here at our factory, and that's a big part of the history here in South Africa. And so when it came time for me to decide, gee, I really want to build my own boat, design my own boat, and work with a bunch of people, it really arose from the fact that, A, I knew South Africa was going to be a great place to build this type of boat, but also, in some ways, Balance Catamarans was created out of my own frustration. Frustration over the fact that in my other business, the brokerage business, we sold at this point now, as of last year, over 850 catamarans. I attend surveys all around the world constantly of production catamarans. And the most disappointing thing to me about most of the mass-produced catamarans is that the quality is average, the boats are heavy, they're not particularly fun to sail, and well, there's a role for those boats. For the individual that really loves to sail, that gets enthusiasm from sailing, that wants to do oceanic adventure travel, tends to pull off some long miles, but also wants a boat that's got some comfort. You really want to go with a lighter weight, handcrafted catamaran such as the Balance. And that's really what inspired me to first design the 526 and to work with these guys here at Nexus on the 526 catamaran. And so if you see behind me the workers, what's great about South Africa is we have this beautiful blending of high skill, medium skill, and low skill labor, which enables us to build these boats that are highly handcrafted, highly faired, and they're all done in a collaboration. But there's an incredible amount of sanding and fairing that takes place in these boats, but that's also what makes them super light, and why on the deck of these boats you see almost no stainless. Everything's composite and just super light. So that's just a big part of the Balance Catamarans. And what does it mean to create a balance? It means to have a boat that's both A, really fast, strong, and easy to maintain, but it's also a boat that's livable. And harkening back to that whole Hoby history that I have, the coolest thing about a Hoby Cat was that you could sail that thing up right onto a beach and leave it and walk away. Whereas the racing cats at the time, Tornadoes, those kinds of boats you had to manicure. They were right on the edge, they were constantly breaking, They require constant care and maintenance. And that's sort of how I look at it, is that people that want a really high performance cat that are going for the latest and greatest curved dagger boards and rotating masts and carbon this everywhere, those boats are fragile and they require a lot of maintenance. They're very costly to take care of. And so what we tried to do at Balance is create this super fast, lightweight performance boat, but we want it to be easy to maintain and easy to sail and not to be fragile. And if you can achieve all those three things, then you've got just this incredible product. And I think that's what we've got here, and I believe it explains our great success at Balance.